But doesn't he lie? He tells lies. That's a serious objection to raise against someone's character. He's a liar. So I looked up in the Washington Post article last December. President Trump has made 15,413 false or misleading claims. 15,413. But let me give you a couple examples. The most common, what they call lie or misleading claim, repeated 242 times, is this: the United States economy now is perhaps the strongest economy in the country's history. We said perhaps, so it's not an absolute. But the Washington Post goes on to say in the next sentence, by just about any important measure, the economy today is not doing as well as it did under Presidents Dwight Eisenhower, Lyndon Johnson, or Bill Clinton. So I thought, well, let's find out. The gross domestic product, or GDP, is the total market value of all the goods and services sold in a nation over a year. It's the total economic output of a nation. Under President Eisenhower, the gross domestic product of the United States was, in round numbers, $3 trillion. They said Eisenhower, Johnson, and Clinton. Eisenhower, $3 trillion. Lyndon Johnson, $5 trillion. Bill Clinton, $13 trillion. Donald Trump in 2019, the GDP, $21 trillion. So I would ask the Washington Post, how is 21 worse than 3, 5, and 13? It looks to me like 21 is better than 3 and 5 and 13. In fact, if you add them all together, you get to 21. Therefore, judging by the most common measure of the strength of an economy, the GDP, it is completely true to say that we are currently living in the strongest economy in our country's history. Trump is not lying, but the Post is using some other measurement, and they don't tell us what, but like percentage of growth rate or something, I don't know, in order to claim that Trump has told this lie 242 times. Well, you can see how they can get to a total of 15,413 false or misleading claims. Here's another supposed lie. Trump said, we've just also reached a deal with Congress to invest a record $738 billion more into our military. This is a record, $738 billion. The Post says, this is a lie. Why? Well, because if you adjust for inflation, this is not a record. Never mind that they themselves were reporting $738 billion as the expenditure in the military budget, the largest that has ever been. So yes, it's a record. He didn't say it's a record adjusted for inflation. He just said it's a record. So if you're facing thousands of these accusations, that in my judgment, many are just misleading, of course people are going to think that your character is worse than it is. And President Trump's flaws, and he does have flaws, make him liable to, or make people ready to believe those things. And I think if your source of information is CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, Washington Post, New York Times, you're going to have a bad opinion of President Trump because he's been slandered again and again and again. That's not to say he's perfect. He has flaws. But it is to say we need a middle ground evaluation of his character, not an exceptionally hostile one. I teach interpretation of the Bible, and there's a principle in interpretation of literature in general, and that is to distinguish between a sympathetic interpretation of a writer's words or a speaker's words and a hostile interpretation. If you want to give a hostile interpretation of someone's words, you can misconstrue anything and it will be contrary to the intended meaning. But those alleged lies or misleading statements that the Washington Post tabulates, I looked at many, many of them, and again it seemed to me, Well, I can put a sympathetic interpretation on that statement, and it wouldn't be called a lie. So I don't know. I published in an article a while ago, this, I think it was 6 weeks ago, something like that. I said, I have heard it said that President Trump is a liar. I teach ethics. I wrote an ethics book. I define lie as affirming A when you believe A is false. Where you say A is true when you believe A is false. That's how I define a lie, in a very specific way. I do not know if President Trump has ever said a lie in that sense. I said in this article, I'd be happy to look at any examples if someone wants to show them to me. But I didn't get any response. Objection number 7.